Kai stood at the edge of the observation deck, staring into the endless black of space. The stars shimmered like tiny diamonds scattered across a vast dark ocean. But tonight, there was something different. A faint signal had been detected earlier. A voice, almost familiar, calling from beyond the outer systems. It was the kind of signal that made a person's heart pound, a voice that seemed to pull on the memories of the past. Kai had not felt this sense of urgency for years. It had been 5 years since the Star Wars of the Outer Systems, a conflict that had touched every corner of human colonies and alien territories. He remembered it like a vivid dream, though it was a nightmare that had shaped him. In those days, humanity had been a fledgling player among far older, more powerful civilizations. Humans had technology, yes, but it had always been a race against time, against the superior fleets and weapons of alien races, and yet, against the odds, humans had survived, adapted, and even thrived in unexpected ways. Kai had witnessed humanity's ability to endure, to innovate, and to fight with courage that no one had thought possible. And then there had been Lyra. Kai's mind drifted back to the first time he had seen her. She had emerged from the chaos of battle like a ghost, her ship maneuvering with unmatched skill through explosions and debris. Lyra was not like any other alien Kai had encountered. Her eyes held intelligence and determination, and her calm in the middle of chaos had saved many lives that day. They had fought side by side in that brutal war, humans and aliens together against a common threat. And then, just as suddenly as she had appeared, she had vanished. Reports had suggested her ship was destroyed during a skirmish, and Kai had assumed she was gone forever. Now, years later, the memory of her was resurfacing with the signal he had just received. The voice had been faint, distorted by distance and interference, but there was no mistaking it. It had a timbre, a rhythm, a resonance he could not forget. Kai's heart raced as he reached for the console to trace the signal. Coordinates blinked on the screen, pointing to a remote system far beyond the territories humans normally patrolled. Kai worked quickly, his fingers moving over the controls with practiced precision. He had been trained for situations like this, for emergencies, for moments when a human's ingenuity could mean the difference between life and death. Yet, nothing in his experience prepared him for this. As the signal strengthened, he realized that it carried not just data, but a message, and it was addressed to him. The thought made his stomach tighten. Could it really be her? He whispered under his breath, the words feeling strange in the empty observation deck. The stars outside seemed to pulse in response. Or perhaps that was just his imagination. The signal had been detected hours earlier, but Kai had spent that time reviewing old logs, re-examining his own memories, and considering every possibility. It could be a trap. It could be a rogue transmission meant to lure him into danger. Humans had learned, painfully, that curiosity in space could be deadly. But there was something in the voice, something familiar, that overrode fear. He had to know. The alarms on the deck chimed softly, indicating the arrival of a ship entering the outer atmosphere of their colony. Kai's pulse quickened. The description matched none of the known vessels in the sector, and as the ship came into view through the observation window, he could not believe his eyes. Its design was elegant and unfamiliar, sleek yet formidable, and it moved with a confidence that suggested it belonged to someone used to commanding space, not merely surviving in it. Kai pressed a button to open a communication channel. The screen flickered for a moment, and then a voice came through, a voice he could never forget. "Have you forgotten me?" The word struck him like a lightning bolt. His mind raced, trying to process what he was hearing. It could not be. Yet, the cadence, the inflection, the warmth hidden beneath the formal tone, it all matched the memories he carried of Lyra. Kai activated the docking sequence, his hands shaking slightly. Years of experience in piloting ships, in calculating trajectories, in managing emergencies, all fell into place automatically. The ship moved closer, gliding through the colony's protective shields with an ease that made him wonder about its pilot's skill. When the docking clamps engaged, Kai took a deep breath. He had no idea what awaited him on the other side of the airlock. But he knew one thing. This encounter would change everything. The hatch hissed open, revealing a corridor bathed in soft, bluish light. And there she was. Lyra, taller than he remembered. Her uniform bearing insignia he did not recognize. Her eyes scanning the room until they locked with his. Kai stepped forward, words caught in his throat. Lyra smiled. A mixture of relief, amusement, and something deeper that he could not name.
"You've grown older," she said softly, a trace of humor in her voice. "But some things never change."
"You still have that stubborn look in your eyes."
Kai managed a small laugh, shaking his head. "I could say the same about you, but you're here." "You're really here?" Lyra nodded, her expression growing serious. "I am, and there isn't much time. The galaxy is changing faster than ever. What you think you know about the past war is only the beginning. I've come back because there's something you need to see, something that cannot fall into the wrong hands." Kai's mind raced. He had faced countless dangers before, navigated battles, escaped ambushes, and even survived betrayals. But there was something in Lyra's tone that made his blood run cold with anticipation. She wasn't asking for help. She was telling him that their paths were intertwined once again and that the stakes were higher than they had ever been. As they moved through the ship's corridors, Kai noticed the advanced technology surrounding him. The walls shimmered with energy panels. The air hum of unseen engines filled the space with a subtle vibration, and screens displayed streams of alien data he could barely begin to interpret. Lyra led him to the command center, a spacious room with a panoramic view of the stars outside. She gestured toward the display. "These readings are from beyond the outer systems. Rogue fleets are moving in ways we haven't seen before. And there's a new player in the game, a faction that wants to control what we call the artifact. It's ancient, powerful, and it can change the balance of power across the galaxy." Kai frowned. "The artifact? I thought that was just a legend." Lyra shook her head. "Legends are born from truth, Kai. And this truth is dangerous. If it falls into the wrong hands, it could start a war that makes the last one look like a small skirmish. That's why I came back." He absorbed her words slowly, trying to connect the dots between the fragments of his memories, the signal he had received, and the threat she now described. Humans had always been underestimated in galactic conflicts. They had survived through ingenuity, courage, and the ability to adapt, often in situations where technology alone was not enough. And yet, here was a threat that could overwhelm even that resilience, if not handled carefully. Lyra's gaze softened. "I trust you, Kai. That is why I am here. We fought together once, and now we have to do it again. But this time, the challenge is different. It's not about survival of one ship or one colony. It's about the survival of many worlds." Kai swallowed hard, the weight of responsibility pressing down on him. He had always believed in humanity's strength, but this was bigger than anything he had faced. And yet, there was something comforting in Lyra's presence. She had survived the war, adapted to its trials, and returned not only as a comrade but as a guide, someone who could navigate the treacherous currents of galactic politics and warfare. "I'm with you," he said finally, his voice firm despite the whirlwind of emotions inside him. "Whatever it takes, we'll face this together." Lyra nodded, a faint smile crossing her lips.
"Good, because time is not on our side."
"We have to move quickly before the faction discovers the signal. They will come for me, and if they do, it will not end well for anyone." Kai's mind raced with possibilities. He knew the galaxy was vast, but dangers could reach across light years in moments. Strategy, speed, and clever thinking would be essential. But he also knew that humans had a quality no alien fleet could fully anticipate: the ability to improvise, to turn mistakes into opportunities, and to persist when all seemed lost. That human spirit had saved colonies before, and now, perhaps, it would save even more. Lyra led him to a smaller shuttle within the ship. We need to reach the outer asteroid belt. It's the safest route for now, away from patrols. From there, we can plan our next steps. Kai buckled himself in, his eyes on the vast expanse outside the window. Stars streaked past as the shuttle leaped into faster-than-light travel, and he felt a familiar thrill of adventure mingled with fear. He had survived many challenges, but this was different. This was personal, tied to past memories and present responsibilities, and it demanded everything he could give. As the shuttle sailed through uncharted space, Kai thought about Lyra's words. The artifact, the new faction, the lives depending on their success. It was overwhelming, but he felt a spark of determination. Humanity had faced impossible odds before. They had endured betrayals, wars, and countless disasters, and yet, somehow, they had thrived. And now, with Lyra back by his side, perhaps they could face this new threat and emerge victorious once again. Lyra glanced at him, her expression unreadable, yet intense. There's more to this story than I can tell right now.
You need to trust me, Kai. And you need to trust yourself.
The galaxy will test us, but I believe humans have the strength to endure what comes next. Kai nodded, feeling the weight of history and destiny pressing down on him, yet also feeling a strange sense of hope. Together they would navigate the stars, confront dangers no one else could face, and perhaps, just perhaps, change the course of history once more. The shuttle accelerated, leaving the familiar territories behind, carrying them toward unknown worlds, hidden dangers, and a future that demanded courage, ingenuity, and faith in the human spirit. And as Kai stared out at the stars, he felt certain of one thing. No matter what awaited them, humanity, alongside its allies, would rise to meet it. The shuttle moved swiftly through the asteroid belt, weaving between rocks that glowed faintly under distant starlight. Kai gripped the controls, his eyes darting across the instruments. He had flown through dangerous zones before, but nothing quite like this. The path was narrow, and any mistake could mean collision or exposure to unknown threats. Lyra sat beside him, her hands resting lightly on the console. Her gaze was fixed on the navigation display, tracking multiple points of interest beyond the belt. These asteroids hide more than just rocks, she said quietly. Sensors have detected unusual energy readings. We must be careful. Whoever is looking for the artifact will have detection methods far beyond what humans expect. Kai swallowed, thinking about her words. Humans had survived the war because they could improvise and act quickly under pressure. Their minds were flexible, their instincts sharp, and that adaptability might be the only thing that could keep them alive now. Do you think they know we're coming? Kai asked. Lyra shook her head.
Not yet, but it won't be long.
The faction seeking the artifact is organized. They monitor every signal. If they realize I've returned, they will come. And when they do, it will be swift and dangerous. Kai's jaw tightened. He had faced danger before, but now it was personal. Lyra's return wasn't just a reunion. It was a mission that demanded courage, clever thinking, and teamwork. Humans had always been underestimated by alien forces. They had survived and even thrived in situations where no one expected them to. And Kai intended to prove that again. The shuttle slipped past a particularly large asteroid, narrowly avoiding a collision. Kai exhaled in relief as they emerged into a quieter sector. The stars stretched in endless patterns, a backdrop to their mission. Lyra's ship, following closely behind, maintained a constant watch over the area. Tell me more about the artifact, Kai said, breaking the silence. What is it, really? Why is it so important? Lyra's expression grew serious. The artifact is ancient, older than most civilizations in this sector. It holds knowledge and energy that can influence entire systems. In the wrong hands, it could spark wars that span decades. In the right hands, it could ensure peace and balance. Kai nodded slowly. He had faced battles, crises, and threats before, but this was different. This was not about a single skirmish or colony. This was about the survival of countless worlds. Humanity's ability to adapt, to invent, and to endure might make the difference between destruction and hope. Lyra turned to him. I need your help, Kai, not just because I trust you, but because humans have something no one else does. Intuition, creativity, the ability to solve problems in ways technology alone cannot. That is why I sought you out.
Kai felt a surge of pride. Humans had always been underestimated.
They had survived wars with superior alien fleets, adapted to harsh planets, and innovated under pressure. And now, Lyra was reminding him that humanity's true strength was not just in technology, but in courage and cleverness. As they approached the coordinates Lyra had provided, sensors began detecting energy fluctuations ahead. Kai adjusted the shuttle's trajectory, guiding it carefully between moving asteroids. These readings are unstable, he said. Whatever we're looking for is near. I can feel it. Lyra nodded, her eyes scanning the instruments. We are close.
But stay alert. The faction seeking the artifact will be watching, waiting for any sign of weakness.
The shuttle entered a dense cluster of asteroids and the energy readings spiked. Suddenly, the control panel beeped wildly. Sensors are being jammed! Kai shouted. He struggled to maintain control as the instruments flickered and shifted. Lyra placed a hand on his shoulder. Trust yourself, Kai. Humans have faced worse than this. Your instincts can guide us through. Kai took a deep breath and relied on his instincts. He had piloted through asteroid storms, dodged enemy fire, and survived countless crises. Slowly, carefully, he maneuvered the shuttle through the field, using visual cues instead of the failing instruments. The rocks scraped past the hull, but the shuttle held firm. Finally, they emerged into a calmer area, revealing a planet bathed in pale blue light. Its surface was dotted with structures that glimmered faintly. The artifact, Lyra explained, was hidden within a vault deep beneath the planet's surface. It was protected not just by technology, but by puzzles and defenses designed to test intelligence, courage, and ingenuity. Kai's eyes widened. So, it's not just about strength or weapons? Lyra shook her head. No, the artifact was created to survive civilizations, to ensure that only those who are worthy can access it. Many have tried and failed. We must succeed, not through force, but through skill, cleverness, and teamwork. Kai felt a thrill of excitement. Humans had always thrived when faced with impossible odds, using creativity and courage to overcome obstacles. This challenge was no different, and he was ready. They landed the shuttle near a jagged ridge, careful to avoid detection. The air was thin but breathable, and the faint glow from the planet's surface reflected off the rocky terrain. Lyra led the way, moving with grace and precision. Kai followed closely, his eyes scanning the area for any signs of danger. As they approached the vault's entrance, sensors detected faint energy signatures. Lyra's expression grew tense. This is it, she whispered. The entrance is protected by a series of tests. They are not lethal, but they are designed to challenge intelligence, perception, and teamwork. We must work together to succeed.
Kai nodded. We can do this.
Humans are good at solving problems. We've survived worse than puzzles. The vault's entrance shimmered and shifted as they stepped closer. Symbols and patterns glowed along the surface, forming a complex network of challenges. Kai studied them carefully. Each symbol seemed to correspond to a pattern in the environment, a sequence of energy flows, or a mathematical concept he vaguely recognized. Lyra guided him. Pay attention to the details. The solution is often hidden in plain sight. Do not overthink it. Trust your instincts. Kai focused, his mind analyzing each pattern, each movement. Humans had a natural ability to see connections, to improvise, to find solutions where others saw only complexity. Slowly, methodically, he began to solve the puzzles, each correct step causing the symbols to glow brighter. Hours seemed to pass as they worked, moving through increasingly complex sequences. Kai felt his energy waning, but he pressed on. Lyra's presence was steadying, guiding him, offering insight when needed. Together, they navigated the vault's defenses, combining human intuition with alien knowledge. Finally, they reached the final chamber. The artifact rested on a pedestal, glowing with a soft, pulsating light. Its design was intricate, a combination of crystal and energy, humming with power. Kai felt a wave of awe. This was not just an object. It was a testament to intelligence, resilience, and foresight. Lyra approached the artifact carefully. "We've made it," she said softly.
But remember, possessing it is only the beginning. We must protect it from those who would misuse its power.
Kai nodded, understanding the gravity of their achievement. Humans had survived countless challenges, not by sheer force, but by courage, creativity, and the ability to work together. And now, alongside Lyra, they had proven that again. Just as they were about to leave the chamber, sensors detected movement outside. The faction had discovered their location. Kai and Lyra exchanged a glance. There was no time for hesitation. They activated the artifact's protective field, which cloaked them from detection, and prepared to navigate back through the vault. Kai's heart raced. Humans had survived ambushes, traps, and overwhelming odds before, and he knew they could do it again. As they moved through the corridors, the sound of pursuit grew louder. The faction's forces were fast, but Kai's instincts, honed by years of survival, guided them. Lyra's knowledge complemented his intuition, and together, they outmaneuvered the enemy at every turn. Finally, they reached the shuttle. Kai's hands moved with precision, preparing for launch. Lyra activated the ship's systems, and the engines roared to life. They lifted off, dodging incoming fire and weaving through the asteroid belt. The stars stretched into streaks of light as they jumped into faster-than-light travel, leaving the pursuing forces behind. Breathing heavily, Kai looked at Lyra. "We did it. We got the artifact, and we escaped." Lyra smiled, her eyes reflecting relief and pride.
Yes, but the journey is far from over. This is only the beginning. The faction will not give up easily.
And there are others who may seek the artifact for their own purposes. We must stay vigilant.
Kai nodded, feeling a mix of exhaustion and exhilaration. Humans had faced impossible challenges before, and they had always found a way to survive and thrive.
This mission was no different. With courage, intelligence, and determination, they could overcome any obstacle. As the shuttle moved through uncharted space, Kai realized something else. The human spirit was not just about survival. It was about hope, ingenuity, and the willingness to face the unknown with courage. And as long as that spirit endured, there was no challenge too great, no enemy too powerful, and no journey too dangerous. Lyra's gaze met his.
Humans have something special, Kai.
I see it every time we work together. You adapt, you innovate, you fight when others would give up. That is why I sought you out. That is why I knew we could succeed. Kai smiled, a sense of pride swelling in his chest. Humanity had always been underestimated. And yet, time and time again, humans had proven that even in the face of overwhelming odds, they could rise, adapt, and prevail. The stars stretched endlessly ahead, filled with unknown dangers and hidden wonders. Kai felt ready to face them all. With Lyra by his side and the artifact secured, he knew that humanity's journey through the galaxy was just beginning. And whatever came next, they would face it with courage, ingenuity, and the unbreakable human spirit. The stars stretched endlessly around Kai as the shuttle glided through faster-than-light space. Lyra sat beside him, her hands moving gracefully over the alien control panels, adjusting the ship's shields and navigation systems. The artifact hummed quietly, secured in a containment field, but its energy pulsed faintly through the ship. It was powerful, ancient, and mysterious, yet fragile in the wrong hands. Kai leaned back in his seat, rubbing his eyes. They had escaped the faction that had pursued them, but the feeling of danger had not left him. In fact, it had grown stronger. Whoever was chasing them would not give up easily. The galaxy was a vast place, but power, ambition, and greed moved faster than even light at times.
Where are we heading now? Kai asked. Lyra's eyes were fixed on the display.
There is a neutral planet in this sector, a world mostly uninhabited, where we can rest and plan our next move. It has ancient facilities, abandoned by the first civilizations that built them. The artifact is safest when kept out of populated systems. We need to reach it before the faction does. Kai nodded, understanding the importance. Humans had always survived because they could think, adapt, and act quickly. The faction pursuing them would likely underestimate human ingenuity. But that could be an advantage. They could turn the unexpected into their weapon, just as humans had done in past wars. The shuttle's engines hummed softly as they approached the planet. The surface was rugged, dotted with mountains and valleys, and partially covered in thick pale blue forests. The atmosphere was breathable, but thin, requiring careful navigation during landing. Lyra guided them skillfully toward a plateau that overlooked an abandoned complex, its structures gleaming faintly under the planet's twin suns. Kai landed the shuttle with practiced precision. They exited the ship, stepping onto the rocky surface, feeling the slight pull of gravity beneath their feet. The air was crisp and quiet, the stillness a sharp contrast to the chaos they had left behind. "This is it," Lyra said, her voice low. "We can rest, recharge, and study the artifact here."
But we cannot let our guard down. The faction may already know our approximate location.
Kai scanned the horizon. The structures of the complex were vast and angular, designed for purposes long forgotten. Humans had often relied on improvisation and courage to navigate unknown environments, and Kai felt that familiar thrill, the challenge of solving problems in real time, using intelligence, observation, and intuition. They entered the complex, moving through corridors lined with glowing panels and symbols. The technology was old, ancient even, but it pulsed with energy. Still alive after centuries. Kai marveled at the engineering. It reminded him of humanity's own curiosity and drive. Humans had survived and thrived because they could learn, adapt, and innovate. Here, in this alien place, he felt that spirit reflected back. Lyra led him to a chamber deep within the facility.
This is the safest room here, she explained. We can study the artifact, plan our next steps, and prepare for what comes next.
But we must be quick. The faction will not wait.
Kai placed the artifact on a pedestal designed to contain its energy. It pulsed faintly, casting soft light across the room. He felt a sense of awe. The power contained within it was immense, but it was also beautiful, a testament to intelligence, foresight, and resilience. As they studied the artifact, Lyra explained more of its history. It was created by an ancient civilization to maintain balance in the galaxy. Its energy can influence systems, stabilize planets, and even prevent conflicts. But, in the wrong hands, it could destroy worlds. Kai nodded slowly. Humans had survived wars against stronger forces by being resourceful, quick-thinking, and persistent. That spirit, he realized, was exactly what was needed now. They could protect the artifact, outsmart the faction, and ensure that its power would not be misused. Suddenly, sensors in the complex beeped urgently. The faction had found them. Kai and Lyra exchanged a glance. There was no time for hesitation. They needed to act quickly. Kai's mind raced. Humans had always adapted in moments of danger, using what they had at hand to overcome impossible odds. He scanned the room for possible escape routes, analyzing the layout, the energy flows, and the surrounding terrain. Lyra moved beside him. There are tunnels beneath the complex. They were designed for evacuation during emergencies. We can use them to escape if necessary. But the faction may anticipate that.
Kai's eyes lit up. Then we improvise.
Humans have survived worse by thinking differently than anyone else. Let's use that advantage. They prepared the shuttle for rapid departure, while Lyra activated defensive systems in the complex. Energy barriers shimmered along the corridors, slowing any intruders. The artifact remained protected, its containment field strengthened by Lyra's modifications. Outside, the sound of approaching ships grew louder. The faction had deployed fast interceptors, sleek and deadly, designed to track and disable any ship in the area. Kai tightened his grip on the controls. Humans had faced faster, more technologically advanced fleets before. They had survived not by matching power with power, but by outthinking their enemies. As the first interceptor approached, Kai maneuvered the shuttle through the complex's exterior terrain. Rocks, ridges, and craters became their allies. The interceptor fired energy pulses, but Kai's instincts and quick thinking allowed them to dodge with precision. Lyra monitored the sensors, guiding him through patterns that minimized exposure. Kai felt a surge of determination. Humans had always thrived by adapting, improvising, and using their surroundings to their advantage. Every maneuver, every quick decision reflected that enduring spirit. They were small in the galaxy, yes, but ingenuity and courage had always been humanity's greatest weapons. The chase continued across the planet's surface. Kai used valleys to hide from scanners, diverted streams to obscure their path, and even triggered old defense systems in the abandoned complex to create obstacles for their pursuers. Lyra's knowledge of alien technology complemented his instincts, creating a seamless collaboration. Finally, they reached a canyon with a narrow exit. Kai hesitated only for a moment before plunging the shuttle forward, navigating the tight pass with nerves of steel. The pursuing ships struggled to follow, some colliding with the canyon walls. Kai's heart pounded, but he felt the familiar thrill of success. Human courage, adaptability, and ingenuity had once again proven effective against overwhelming odds. They emerged from the canyon and accelerated into open space. The twin suns of the planet glinted off the shuttle's hull, and the pursuing interceptors were left behind, damaged or retreating. Kai allowed himself a moment to breathe, relief washing over him. Lyra turned to him, a faint smile on her lips.
Impressive, Kai. Humans have a way of surviving that no one expects.
Your instincts, your quick thinking. It is why I knew we could succeed. Kai nodded, a sense of pride swelling in his chest. Humans had been underestimated countless times, and yet they had survived. They had adapted, innovated, and endured. And now, in the vast reaches of space, that same spirit had once again ensured their survival. But there was no time to relax.
Lyra's expression grew serious. The faction will regroup. They will not give up. We must move quickly, study the artifact, and understand its potential.
Knowledge is the key, and we must use it before anyone else can. Kai's mind raced with possibilities. Humans had always thrived in situations where others failed, using creativity, courage, and determination. That same spirit would guide them now. They would learn from the artifact, understand its power, and ensure that it remained a force for protection, not destruction. Over the next hours, Kai and Lyra studied the artifact carefully. Its energy flows were intricate, responsive to thought and observation. They discovered that it could stabilize planetary systems, enhance energy efficiency, and even influence communications across light years. The potential was immense, but it required skill and intelligence to control safely. Kai marveled at its design. Humanity had survived wars against stronger opponents through ingenuity and courage. Here, in the presence of the artifact, he saw that same ingenuity reflected in alien intelligence. It was a reminder that survival, progress, and triumph required both knowledge and adaptability. As they worked, Lyra explained the next steps. We must keep moving. The faction will not stop until they have the artifact. We need to find a secure location, a place where it can be protected and studied. And we need allies. Humans can help, but we must be careful who we trust. Kai nodded. He thought of the colonies, of the people who had survived the war, of humanity's ability to endure against overwhelming odds. They would find allies. They would protect the artifact. And through courage, intelligence, and determination, they would succeed. The sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the planet's surface. The shuttle was ready for departure, the artifact secure, and their path forward uncertain but filled with possibility. Kai felt a sense of anticipation. The galaxy was vast, dangerous, and full of challenges, but humans had always risen to the occasion. Lyra placed a hand on his shoulder.
We will face whatever comes next, Kai. Humans have a strength that no one can predict, a resilience that cannot be broken.
With that, and with the artifact, we can ensure the galaxy remains safe. Kai smiled, the thrill of adventure mingling with a sense of responsibility. Humans had survived wars, adapted to new worlds, and faced threats far greater than their numbers suggested. And now, in the depths of space, they would do it again. The stars stretched endlessly ahead, and the shuttle leaped into faster-than-light travel. Kai and Lyra were moving toward unknown worlds, hidden dangers, and challenges that would test every skill they had. But they were ready. Humanity had always been underestimated. And time again, humans had proven that courage, ingenuity, and determination could overcome any obstacle. Kai felt a deep sense of hope. With Lyra by his side, with the artifact secured, and with the human spirit guiding him, he knew they could face whatever awaited them. The journey was far from over, but one thing was certain: humanity would rise to meet the challenges of the galaxy, as it always had. Kai sat in the cockpit of the shuttle, eyes fixed on the swirling stars outside. The artifact pulsed faintly behind him, its energy filling the small cabin with a quiet hum. Lyra adjusted the ship's controls, scanning sensors for any signs of the faction that had pursued them relentlessly. Despite the distance they had put between themselves and their enemies, Kai could feel the tension in the air. The galaxy was vast, but danger had a way of catching up. The faction is reorganizing, Lyra said quietly. They have resources, speed, and numbers. But we have something they do not: knowledge, ingenuity, and human adaptability. That is why we can succeed. Kai nodded, feeling a surge of determination. Humans had survived countless wars, outsmarted enemies who were stronger and faster, and thrived where others had failed. Their strength was not just in technology or numbers, but in courage, creativity, and perseverance. This was another test, and he intended to meet it head-on. They entered the coordinates of a hidden star system, one largely untouched by civilizations. At its center was a planet surrounded by a dense asteroid field, its surface dotted with ancient ruins. Lyra's eyes lit up as they approached. This is it, the final location. Here, the artifact can be protected, and its power studied safely. But we must act quickly.
The faction may discover us at any moment. Kai's pulse quickened.
Humans had always excelled when facing the impossible. Improvisation, strategy, and bold decisions had carried colonies through wars and disasters. And now, in this moment, those same qualities would be their salvation. They navigated the asteroid field with precision, using the rocks as cover from long-range scans. Every movement tested their skills. But Kai's instincts and experience guided the shuttle. Lyra's knowledge of alien technology allowed them to anticipate potential traps and energy fields hidden among the asteroids. Finally, they reached the planet's surface. The ruins were vast and imposing, remnants of a civilization that had long since disappeared. Energy barriers shimmered faintly around the perimeter, ancient but still functional. Kai marveled at the design. Humans had always been resourceful, but seeing such engineering reminded him that intelligence and creativity existed across the galaxy. Survival often depended on learning from others and combining knowledge in new ways. Lyra led Kai through the ruins toward the central vault.
The artifact's energy interacts with this place,
she explained. It was designed to be protected by the planet itself. Anyone trying to take it by force will trigger defenses.
That gives us an advantage. Kai followed closely, his senses alert.
They entered the vault's inner chamber, where the artifact would be most secure. Energy flows pulsed along the walls, and complex symbols glowed faintly, reacting to their presence. Kai could feel the immense power contained within the artifact. It was awe-inspiring, but it also demanded respect. Misuse could bring disaster, while careful guidance could preserve life and balance across systems. Suddenly, alarms sounded from the shuttle's sensors. The faction had located them. Ships appeared in orbit, sleek, fast, and deadly. Kai's mind raced. Humans had survived ambushes before, outwitted faster and stronger enemies, and turned weaknesses into strengths. They would do it again. Lyra's voice was steady.
We must protect the artifact. The planet's defenses can help, but we may need to move it temporarily to avoid capture.
Kai nodded.
Then let's do it. Humans always find a way.
They carefully transported the artifact to a hidden chamber within the vault, where energy shields and protective barriers surrounded it. Kai adjusted the controls, using both human ingenuity and Lyra's alien knowledge to strengthen the containment field. The faction's ships were closing in, but the artifact remained secure. As the enemy began deploying troops to the planet's surface, Kai and Lyra prepared defensive measures. They activated energy barriers along key entry points, rerouted power to reinforce shields, and positioned the shuttle for rapid response. Every action required precision, quick thinking, and coordination, qualities humans had honed through generations of survival and adaptation. The first wave of faction forces landed, moving cautiously among the ruins. Kai watched through the sensors, analyzing their patterns. Humans had always been clever in combat, using terrain, deception, and strategy to their advantage. He saw opportunities. Lyra guided him.
Use the environment.
Lead them into traps. Make them underestimate us.
That is the human advantage.
Thinking differently than anyone else.
Kai's mind raced.
He activated a series of energy pulses, creating temporary barriers and obstacles that slowed the enemy's advance. The ruins themselves became part of the defense, rocks shifting to block paths and channels, funneling the faction into carefully controlled zones. Every move demonstrated human ingenuity, the ability to adapt, improvise, and outthink the opposition. The faction was relentless, but Kai and Lyra's coordination and strategy kept them at bay. Energy shields held, and the artifact's protective field remained intact. Kai felt a surge of pride. Humans had always been underestimated. Yet time and again, they had proven that intelligence, courage, and creativity could overcome superior technology and numbers. Hours passed, each moment tense and filled with uncertainty. But Kai and Lyra never wavered. They adapted to every challenge, anticipated enemy maneuvers, and used the environment to their advantage. The faction's forces began to falter, frustrated by their inability to reach the artifact. Kai realized something important. Humans had survived not by brute strength alone, but by combining observation, creativity, and quick thinking. Every decision he made, every adjustment to the defenses, reflected that enduring spirit. And now, it was saving the artifact and perhaps countless worlds. Lyra's voice broke through his focus.
The final phase is ready.
We can activate the planet's defense grid fully, but it requires precise timing. One mistake could disable the shields or damage the artifact. Kai took a deep breath. Humans had faced impossible challenges before. Situations where every second counted and every decision mattered. They had survived, adapted, and emerged stronger. This was another test, and he would meet it with everything he had. Together, they activated the defense grid. Energy beams shot across the landscape, creating barriers, traps, and deterrents that the faction could not penetrate. The enemy's approach was slowed to a crawl, their forces disoriented and unable to coordinate effectively. Humans had always been underestimated, and yet here, their ingenuity was turning the tide of battle. Kai felt a surge of determination. They would protect the artifact. They would ensure it remained a force for balance, not destruction. And they would prove once more that human courage and intelligence could overcome any challenge. The faction ships attempted to break through, but the planet's defenses, combined with Kai and Lyra's strategy, held firm. Each wave of attackers was met with obstacles, delays, and clever diversions. The human advantage, adaptability and ingenuity, proved decisive. Finally, the faction began to retreat. Their forces were exhausted, disorganized, and unable to penetrate the defenses. Kai and Lyra watched as the last of their pursuers withdrew into orbit, the artifact remaining safe, secure, and protected. Kai allowed himself a moment of relief. Humans had survived countless wars, faced stronger enemies, and overcome impossible odds. And now, once again, ingenuity, courage, and determination had ensured their success. Lyra turned to him, her expression a mixture of relief and pride.
We did it, Kai. The artifact is secure.
The faction has been defeated. For now, humanity has proven its strength once again. Kai smiled. He thought of the colonies, the explorers, the scientists, and the countless people who had endured, adapted, and thrived. Humans had always been underestimated, but that underestimation had become their advantage. They could survive, overcome, and succeed where others failed. As the stars stretched endlessly around them, Kai felt a sense of hope and possibility. The artifact would be studied, its power understood, and its potential used to preserve balance in the galaxy. And humans, with their courage, creativity, and resilience, would continue to play a crucial role in shaping the future. Lyra placed a hand on his shoulder.
Kai, I have seen many civilizations rise and fall. But humans?
Humans have a spirit that cannot be broken. You adapt, innovate, and fight with determination. That is why I sought you out. That is why we succeeded. Kai nodded, understanding the truth in her words. Humans had survived wars, disasters, and conflicts that seemed impossible. They had faced challenges no one else could overcome, and their ingenuity and courage had carried them through. Now, in the vastness of space, that same spirit had protected the artifact and preserved the future. The shuttle prepared to leave the planet, the artifact secured within its containment field. Kai looked out at the stars, feeling a deep sense of accomplishment. Humans had always been underestimated, but that underestimation had become their greatest strength. They had survived, thrived, and ensured that hope endured. Lyra smiled, her eyes reflecting the soft glow of distant stars. The journey is far from over, Kai.
There will be challenges ahead.
But with human ingenuity, courage, and determination, there is nothing we cannot face. Kai's mind reflected on the past months, the battles, the escape, the puzzles, and the danger. Humans had survived against all odds. They had innovated, adapted, and triumphed. And now, with the artifact safe, they had proven once more that the human spirit could rise above any challenge. The stars stretched endlessly ahead, and the shuttle leaped into faster-than-light travel. Kai and Lyra were moving toward new adventures, unknown worlds, and challenges that would test every skill they possessed. But they were ready. Humanity would rise, adapt, and overcome, as it always had. And as the galaxy unfolded before them, Kai felt a certainty that nothing could shake. Humans, with courage, ingenuity, and determination, would face whatever came next and emerge victorious. The artifact was safe, the faction defeated, and the human spirit, undaunted, clever, and brave, had once again proven its worth among the stars.